What's up, guys? We are back. Fitness Profit Multiplier, Anthony and Jimmy. And I'm already laughing. So today we're going to be talking about, and it's just going to kind of be like a little bit of a venting session here, but it's how to deal with annoying clients. And I had someone describe this to me the best because it is so true. Dealing with personal training clients at the level that we're at right now, where you have over 100 and something members, it's like wrangling feral cats. You're running all over the place trying to herd people in, and there is a lot that you have to deal with as a gym owner. And no one talks about that. There's nowhere for gym owners to go and vent about how annoying Mrs. Jones can be, or how Sally here, who is 130 pounds at 40% body fat, thinks she's needs to lose 5 pounds. No one, and how they're not sure how they're not getting results, but they're drinking like fish on the weekend. So how do you just, as a gym owner, how do you deal with annoying clients?
100%.
You got to find a friend and vent because no one understands it either. That's the thing, is like no one understands. It's like I call Jimmy and we bitch to each other about things like this, but it's like no one else understands what we go through.
Right. And what's funny about it is, like, I haven't really heard many podcasts out there in the fitness space that talk about this. They always talk about, whatever it may be, like the elusive 3% attrition rate or all that weird stuff that people talk about that doesn't quite exist. But when we look at annoying clients and how to deal with them, it's one of these things that you're gonna deal with. You're gonna deal with it, right? So over time, as you grow as a business, you'll realize that, like, let's say you have less than 100 members, okay? At less than 100 members, and depending on the region of the country you're in, I guess, but under 100 members, you're probably not going to notice that many annoying clients. But as you accelerate and move up and move up and move up in the amount of clients that you have, you're going to have more of that coming to you, even though the percentage of members is still the same, right? So, like, let's say, for example, 20% of your members are super annoying, right? 20% of your members you can't stand, okay? Let's just say that. Or
I can't stop laughing because it's so true. Like, you want to pretend as gym owners, like we all do this. We all want to pretend like we're high and mighty and we're helping people conquer the world. But some of these people are just irritating.
Right.
They're just irritating. And you're like, oh, and you guys know, I'm sure those of you listening to this right now can pick out 5 clients that annoy the shit out of you. Like, easily.
Exactly. And yes, we want to help everybody. And yes, we deal with these kind of annoying little things because we look at it and we go, well, this person came to me and they really want help, right? And so we're going to continue to help them as much as we can. But there are times in which it's better to just cut your losses and say, maybe this isn't the right fit, right? There are times when that's appropriate. So we just have to look at it and go, what constitutes a client that's annoying enough to not want to work with them anymore? And that's okay, right? It's not one of these things where we're sitting there and we're going like, oh, you got to find your ideal client, and if somebody's not in fit your ideal spectrum, then you can't train them. It's more like, where is the line where a client becomes now more of a burden on your system and a burden on your staff than they need to be, or way more of a burden for the value of that client brings into you financially, right? That's the decision that you're going to make as to whether you're going to try hard to save that client, not try and save that client, tell that client that it's not the right fit, fire that client, which we've done in the past, right? How is that client affecting the culture? How is that client affecting your team? How is that client interacting with the other members? Like, those things make a big impact on whether you want to keep training that person or not, because it's going to affect your ability to provide the best service possible in a lot of different ways, right? But you probably don't notice it if you have less than 100 members. You might have a client here and there that, like, say you have 50 members. Okay, you have 50 members. Maybe you've got 5 clients that are annoying at 50 members, maybe 5, right? But as you climb and as you go, you know, you get up there and you go, okay, then you have 100. So you got 10. Then you have 200. So you have 20, right? And it's like one of these things where if you have 20 members that are hard to deal with type of people, and you still have one administrative staff, they're dealing with all this bullshit all the time, right? They're dealing with all the BS. They're dealing with the, oh, well, I didn't understand your agreement, or, oh, well, I want to borrow these sessions from this month to the next month, or, oh, well, I was out of the country, so I thought I froze my account, but they didn't freeze their account. They're all butthurt about it. So you try and like appease them to save them in a certain way so they don't cancel their membership, right? And you have to play these games with these people that just don't read the damn agreement, right? And these are just things that we're going to deal with on a regular basis with clients. And you have to realize what the percentage looks like, right? Because it's like, we were talking about it the other day at our gym, and it's like, you know, it's 1 in 100 or 1 in 50 people that you're going to deal with this. Like, they can't work. We use Zen Planner, right? They can't work Zen Planner. They don't know how to figure it out. And it's just like 1 in 50 people. And like, they think it's your system and your gym that's the problem. And it's your agreement and it's your software and it's your system, right? Oh, you're wrong. You can't, I don't understand your business, da, 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 da. And I'm like, oh, is that really the case? Because we help over 200 people currently, and we have like 10 people right now, maybe, that have issues with this, or less, right? Like, we have 1 person every 100 people that has problems with our agreement, right? Our membership agreement. We have 1 person out of every 50 that has problems working with our software, right? And it's like, every time that person comes along, though, you're the problem. The gym is the problem. It's not them. It's not.
Well, that's one thing I want to add to what you're saying too, you know, because I'm the type of person that, like, when someone brings a problem to me or someone tells me something, I'm like, well, I got to fix it, right? But you have to look at the percentage of people who are complaining about something. So
100%.
we had, let's just say someone's complaining about an exercise, right? Or whatever, something in the gym. I don't know. Give me an example, Jimmy. I don't know. What do people complain about?
They're
Everything.
complaining about the transition time between sessions, let's say.
Okay. So this person's complaining about the transition time of the session. So now you're sitting there and you're listening to what they're saying. And, you know, maybe this is even after, and you're like, well, I gotta, you know, you appease them and you send them on their way and they're fine when they leave. But now you're thinking about it after the fact and you're like, well, is there something wrong in between? Maybe I need to change this. Maybe I need to go in and change the structure. Maybe I need to reorganize the gym so they have somewhere to sit. How many people complained about the transition though? 1. How many members do you have? We'll say 150, 150. So you have 1 person complaining out of 150 about one thing. It might not need to be changed. So, because I've been guilty of that. I've been guilty of that in the past so many times. Like, I have 1 or 2 people complain about something. I'm like, that's it. Got to change everything. But
Right.
It's 1 person. If you had multiple people complaining about it, then it's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn this as you mature in your business, because in the beginning you're really quick to like try to make all these changes, but you mature in your business to realize, okay, what's the total number here? How many people are complaining? Because we had an issue going on where people were kind of staying over sessions. One of our trainers, he thought he was doing a good thing by letting people hang out, not hang out, but like giving them a little bit, like taking longer to finish their workout. Like, he thought he was doing, you know, helping them. And, you know, it started to like snowball into this thing where now like other trainers were there and the people were still staying. So I spoke to the trainer. I said, listen, you can't do that anymore. I appreciate that you thought that it was a good thing, but the reason why we can't do that is because people take advantage. And I explained, well, now it's happening in another trainer session and we can't have that happen. So now the trainer stopped and it's no longer an issue. But my other trainer was like, all the clients are staying. This is happening all to all the sessions. So I said, how many clients are doing this? 2. So before I go and make any change, it was 2 people who this trainer exaggerated about, because it is an issue, right? Like it's not an issue. But in the trainer's mind, it was a much bigger issue because again, they don't have that experience that I have. When you look at from the numbers standpoint, it's 2 people. It's not a big deal. So you got to look at things by the numbers and not by what's actually being said. Be what's that word I'm looking for? Be specific and not irrational, where it's just like emotion. Don't go based on emotions, go by facts. How
Right.
many? Numbers. Look at things by numbers, not by emotion.
Yeah,
And
people.
that'll help
So
you get through a lot of these problems, to be honest.
there's this old adage, right? People make decisions based on emotion and justify them with logic, right? So when you're making decisions for your business, and a lot of times these are buying decisions. So if you're in sales, think about it, right? If you're in sales, people make decisions on emotion and justify with logic. So you're not going to logic somebody into a sale. You're going to emotion somebody into a sale, right? But that's what your clients are trying to do to you when they complain, right? They are complaining to get a sale out of you, to sell you on something they want that you're not providing. But they're tugging on emotion with you when they're trying to get you to do those things. So when we think about it, like a client may complain about the length of a session, right? Which is something that we talk about, right? Like Anthony was just talking about people staying over and that kind of thing, right? They may complain about a length of a session, but you have to look at it and you go, how many members do I have and how many people are complaining about this? Well, if 5 people out of 200 are complaining about it, what do you need to change, right? Like looking at our schedule right now, we're a little bit busy. People are having a hard time getting into sessions. We've had a few people complain and a few people cancel based upon the fact they couldn't get into sessions lately. So once people start canceling based upon that, it's like, okay, maybe we need to expand our sessions a little more, change our staff schedule around a little bit and make things a little more easy for people to come in, right? Fine. But until you get more complaints, until you get a fair percentage of your client base to complain about things, you don't necessarily need to make sweeping changes to your business. You have to compartmentalize it and go, okay, what's going on here? One of the problems that you find though is that in the beginning, when you're first running your business, you're bending over backwards to appease every client that you have because you don't want to lose anybody because your revenue is so low. So then these people continue to stay that stayed with you in the beginning. And then as the business matures, they expect to just complain and have something change, or they try to operate by different rules than what you currently have because rules have changed over time. And that's something that you're going to have to deal with in the future. So if you're a new gym owner, realize you got to kind of develop your system, stick to your guns, and not bend and break for people that want things that are somewhat unreasonable in terms of a business model perspective, right? It still happens even to us today, but yeah, you just gotta change that structure and deal with these people. The other thing that I wanted to touch on before we kind of, because we kind of got on a tangent a little bit with annoying clients, is when to decide if that person is not a fit and how hard to fight for them, right? And every time you turn around, somebody's putting a freeze request in and they're no showing sessions and then wanting their money back and not wanting to be charged for them and then wanting to bring sessions from one month to the next and making an administrative nightmare for your staff. And then on top of that, they're being rude to your staff when they try and talk to them about the policy and all that kind of stuff. That person may not be a fit for your facility because they're draining your staff's energy and they're probably 1 in 100 people that you're going to encounter, right? So fine. You don't need the money for the pain that it's causing your people. Like the amount that you're charging that person is not worth what they're doing to your staff and is not worth what they're doing to your community, right? So realize that just because they're paying you top dollar doesn't mean that you need them, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is, if somebody is drastically influencing the culture of the group that they're in, like at your facility, they're talking, they're talking shit about this or that, they're complaining, they're, saying how much better some other gym is, or they're being sexist, racist, or harassing somebody, or talking too much about religion or politics in your facility, maybe they're not the right fit as a client either, right? So we have to look at those things as reasons to get rid of somebody, not just keep somebody because you want the money. You have to realize how that bad apple is going to spoil the whole bunch, right? So you have to look at it from two perspectives. It's like, how do we deal with these annoying clients? Well, we first have crucial conversations with them. We call them up on the phone. We listen to them vent. We talk about how the system works. We explain the problem, the crewing, like we've talked about on other podcasts, I'm sure. The crewing conversations, right? Care, resell, explain, work out a way, right? And you have that conversation first. And that conversation doesn't go anywhere and they're still being argumentative and annoying and rude, then maybe you just cut your losses. Because your staff doesn't need to deal with that every month, right? But sometimes it turns into great things. Like you can call somebody out and have them be a great client. Like I had this one annoying client years ago, story time. I had this one annoying client years ago who was doing one-on-one training. And at the end of a session, basically told me that she did not think that my services were worth the amount that I was charging to my face. Said because we didn't have towel service, we didn't have a front desk, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. And frankly, she was not getting the service that she had expected. And I looked at her dead in the face and I said, well, the reason why you feel that way and the reason why you're not experiencing that is because you're not coming in frequently enough. You're not doing the exercises as the way that we instruct. You're trying to get all in your head about the way that the exercises are being conducted, and you're performing them differently than we're instructing you to in your one-on-one sessions. So what I would recommend for you to get true value is to do an unlimited small group membership where you get custom programming, you get as many sessions as you want per week, and you can actually see the results that you want. And that's a year agreement. She signed it that meeting, right? So sometimes when people are pushing your buttons, you just have to meet them where they're at and push back. And she brought her mom in and her husband in, and they all trained with me for 2 years. So it's like, if I didn't have that conversation, she would have walked out the door and been done. But sometimes you meet those people where they're at, but sometimes you cut your losses, and you just have to figure out what it's worth to you. Because that client turned out to be one of the best clients I've had. She referred her husband and her mom, and then referred an entire competitive skiing team into my facility to do preseason training for 3 years in a row. So it was like a very profitable conversation that I had with her. And I just had to like meet her there and say, look, this is why the issue is here. Coach her up, say, hey, this is what's up. This is how it goes. So sometimes you got to be hard with people, but sometimes you look at people and you go, story time, one more before I turn it over because I'm talking too much. I had a client in the morning who was making some pretty racist comments, right? And I let it slide the first time, happened a second time. I had a conversation with her about it, happened a third time. And then I told her, I said, look, this is not going to work out anymore, right? And I trained her for a while, one-on-one, but then once I transitioned her in a small group, it was like the gloves came off and she like felt like she could say whatever she wanted. And that's just not the way our culture was. So I call her up and I say, I was nervous because it's a weird conversation to have. Say like, don't pay me money anymore because you don't belong here, right? But you have that conversation when you deem it appropriate. Don't hold on to money just because you need to hold on to money. Your integrity and your ability to run a business in which engenders good spirited effort for that progress in your fitness, your health, and your body is more important than the dollar bills that you're receiving from that person that doesn't fit your culture, right? So anyway, I went on kind of a rant there. I'll turn it back over to Ant because I'll shut my mouth here for a sec. But
Jimmy had a vent.
I'm getting passionate about this one.
I'm telling you guys, we can go all day with annoying client stories. But listen, we all got them. But like I said, I think my best piece of advice here is just focus on the data and don't focus on the emotions. Just because someone says something's an issue, if it's one person saying it, it's probably not an issue. So don't get yourself worked up and stressed over something that really doesn't matter then. All right, guys. If you click that link below, you'll find a bunch of free stuff. So you could join our Facebook group where we love to extend this conversation with you in there. You could get our free training on how to get 10 new clients in 7 days with 0 ad spend. And if you're interested in booking a call with us, you can do that there as well. So Anthony and Jimmy, Fitness Profit Multiplier, leave us a 5-star review and we'll catch you guys on the next one.